So our first speaker tonight is going to be our candidate for governor. I presume she's here. 1 year ago, in the midst of many crises gripping California, I stole this from her website, so. In many crises gripping California, Jenny Ray said, someone should do something. She modeled her own COVID plan using publicly available data and hosted conversations about the future of public policy. After meeting with groups around California, she recognized major gaps in both policy and process, leading her to announce her candidacy for governor. It's like, somebody should do something. Well, she stepped up. That's what she's doing. She's an accomplished business owner, author, strategic advisor with BA in economics from the University of Virginia and an MBA from Columbia Business School. Please welcome Jenny Ray Roux.
Thank you for having me tonight. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you to the CRA for your tremendous support. I've been an incredibly proud endorsed member of the CRA. We've used it on all of our materials on our social media, and what the organization does in the state is vital for what we're trying to do in California. I really believe that the candidates that will speak tonight, including me, are here on purpose, and that we're here for a specific time to stand up, to make light of issues that are happening in our state, and to call people to action. And in this room, you guys are already there, so one of the things that I just want to make sure that I do is share a little bit of my story so that you're able to share it more broadly with other people, because we have a state to save. We have a nation to move the heart of, and we have issues in California that are fixable, and no matter how long we wait and how bad things get, they're still going to be fixable. It's just going to take us more money, more time, more people, more effort to get them back on track. And I'm convinced that California is ready. I'm convinced because I'm spending a lot of my time with our Hispanic populations. And just some encouragement for you, 56% of our Hispanic voters in California voted for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Now only 26% say that they support him. This is what we need. This is our moment in California, you guys. This is our moment. And our message is actually very simple, and I'll share it with you, and then I'm going to expand on it a little bit. The message is Newsom could do something for you, but he won't. Right? Newsom could do something about our gas prices, but he won't. Newsom could do something about our water, but he won't. Newsom could do something about our power, but he won't. Newsom could do something about our roads. Fill in the blank, whatever it is, Newsom could do something for you, the average everyday Californian who has to choose between $98 at a gas tank right now and a bag of groceries that is equally more expensive because he refuses to suspend our gas tax, right? And so inflation has been that tipping point. It's the difference between the recall last year and now. In fact, when people walked out of the recall and they said, I voted yes or no for the recall, you know why they said it? They said either the economy's great or the economy's in trouble. And today, everyone says the economy is in trouble. So again, we're in this moment, we're in this exciting moment where anything could happen in California. Even a conservative could become the governor of California. Can you imagine such a thing? What a moment are we in? So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I did not ever aspire to public office or public service, but I feel that I've been prepared for this moment for my entire life without knowing it. I spent 20 years in the business world falling in love with business, falling in love with the creative problem solving that business offers us. And one of the reasons I was tweaked by what Gavin Newsom did during the pandemic is that he shut down our businesses. He shut down our creative problem solvers, the people who are meant to be the ones who are the solutioneers. He shut them out. He sent them out of the state. Elon Musk during the pandemic moved out of California, right? California has for over 170 years been a hub for imagination, a hub for dreaming, a hub for the biggest ideas that no other state could contain. And Gavin Newsom began to shut that down. And that's for 20 years what I spent my time learning in the business world. I learned how to unlock growth in stifled organizations. I learned how to walk into big groups of people and say, none of you agree on anything, let's find one thing we can agree on and do that. And I did it for 10 years in the corporate world and for 10 years as the owner of my own business. I did it through great ideas, through understanding the data. For example, right now we have a 40% increase in violent crime in California. You know what it's tied to? Gavin Newsom closed 2 prisons. Vocational prisons, the exact type that we should keep open. And he said that if he gets reelected, he'll close 3 more. Congratulations. You have more criminals coming to your neighborhood and your backyard. Make sure you tell your friends and neighbors, right? These insane policies that are tied to the data and the numbers of our state that make absolutely no sense are driving us to a place where no one can recognize the California that we came for. And I'm not a native Californian. I drove here with everything I owned in the back of my crappy little Honda. I drove over the border and I said, I'm gonna build my future in California. And sure enough, I did. My husband and I have 3 beautiful kids. We have a family farm. We have a house in Irvine. We have a thriving business. And we can and could do anything. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, we said somebody should do something about California, but we definitely didn't think it should be us. And we looked around for anybody else who would do exactly what we thought needed to be done. But the problem is that this thing that we need to fix here takes more than good ideas. And it takes a hell of a lot more than political experience, right? It takes courage to know what the right thing is to do in the right moment and the tenacity to stick with it and get it done. And that's exactly what I've trained for my life. That's who I am, that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm excited about a vision for the future. So let me just tell you what it's gonna be like when I am the governor of California, so you can feel some hope and some excitement. First of all, we will have safe communities once again. We will be proud of our law enforcement, we will clap for them, we will salute them, we will stand up for them, we will thank them for putting their lives on the line for us, because anyone, our military, our law enforcement, and otherwise, who puts their life on the line for someone else, they deserve our honor and respect every single day of the week. Absolutely. We're going to have an end of homelessness. So we'll have 1 year. I will work on building transitional housing at $15,000 a tiny unit with the collaboration of the business community in California. They're ready to do it. I've been visiting them up and down the state. And then we will mandate that someone lives in a private, humane home, or they go to jail. Those are their 2 options, right? In 1 year, we will have clean streets in California. Gavin Newsom today only allows money to be spent if drugs can flow freely. We will also spend money on drug abuse and mental health rehabilitation. The second thing that we'll have are remarkable schools. You know that today, almost everyone in our legislature and our governor are bought and paid for by our teachers union. No one speaks for our kids, but I've got kids in public school, and I want to keep them there. I won't keep them there if it in any way will damage them in the future, but right now they're in a charter school that fights for the kids, and they fight with the parents. That's what we need. We need parent and school collaboration that is kid-focused instead of having a state that tries to wedge itself between parents and kids. And we need remarkable schools, you guys, not just schools that don't teach critical race theory, which they can't, shouldn't, and never should ever again. But we also need schools that teach entrepreneurship in the 4th grade. We need schools that are pitching Y Combinator when kids are 12. We need schools that are putting things on the moon because of the STEM that they're doing. We need schools that people move to California for, instead of last year, 100,000 students left our school system. Right? This is an embarrassment, and Gavin Newsom doesn't even have a stakeholder in the school system. So we need change in our schools. And the final thing that we need is a working economy. And we need a working economy, which is actually a lot of the things that good government does without you noticing, right? Like when you turn your water on, water comes out. Imagine that. In California right now, Gavin Newsom, and I don't know if you saw my tweet today, I told him I'd love to see a picture of his empty pool before we do anything in terms of rationing for water, because I'm sure his lawns are fine and his pool is fine, but I would love to see, instead of him asking us to make these tiny cutbacks, better water management at the state. I'd love to see in the summer that they stop these rolling power blackouts. Just create enough power. We can. And should. We have a $97.5 billion surplus. Exactly the types of things that should go toward our infrastructure. We need the suspension of the gas tax indefinitely and absolutely no more increases, because a lower gas price doesn't just give us lower gas prices, it gives us lower food prices, lower goods prices, lower services prices. It gives us lower costs for absolutely everything across the board, and California can and should not be punishing its people with this high gas price. And so we need a working economy. We can get it with good governance, and I'm really excited to be the one to bring us there. So I'm Jenny Ray LaRue. Thank you very much for having me tonight, and I hope that you'll vote, share the word, and make sure that you get involved between now and June 7th. Thank you. Woo.
All right, our next speaker, former Marine. I don't know, is that legit? Never a former Marine? The American dream of entrepreneurialism came to fruition for him as he and his wife started and continue to operate today a successful chiropractic practice in Southern California. He has put all of what he's worked for on the line to ensure that all California remains free from government control over their daily lives. And through this unshaken faith, raising a family, service to country, and business experience, he's witnessed the greatness of this country. He believes that through limited government, personal responsibility, individual liberty, we can and will restore the American spirit. In 1998, he took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, even Sacramento. And he's running for the U.S. Senate to continue upholding this oath. Please welcome Dr. Cordie Williams.
How's everybody doing tonight? So good to be here. Just want to honor you guys for being here because, I don't see any rhinos in here. The rhino convention was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and just like we expected, they endorsed rhinos, right? But it's great to have lions and lionesses in the room because this is where the movement really starts. I don't have to tell you guys what Ronald Reagan said about this organization, but that's why I'm so proud to be endorsed by this organization and also be a lifetime member. Because honestly, this organization, we all respect it, but the whole world's going to respect it. The United States is going to respect it, and this state is going to respect it even more than it already does. After everybody in this room levels up and leans in, like we already have with the candidates that were endorsed this cycle. I mean, how many people think, and I'm not saying this about myself, you're like, yeah, right, dude. But how many people think, like, impressive group of endorsements, aren't they? Like, you got Eric Early, you got Rachel Hamm, you got so many others that are just these groundbreaking, awesome people that love America, want to change California and have a different vision that's a non-rhino one. Because I always say we have Republicans in name only, but then we have Democrats in name only too, the dinos and rhinos. And I want to send them all back to Jurassic Park. And I want to bring back lions and lionesses. Anybody agree with that? Because it's time to do that, isn't it? Because, guys, I think that as we step into this new era of not politicians, but servants. Servant leadership. In chiropractic, we have something called to give, to do, to love, to serve out of a sense of abundance, expecting nothing in return. We've got to start to do that as servant leaders. That's what the American people, that's what Californians, that's what they're craving for, is true leadership where it's not about what I can get, but what I can give. And that's really what it's about, right? And that's a God-led message. Jesus called us to do that. But this establishment process where we take the $30 million that we raised and we send $28 million of it out of state, and then we only endorse congressional candidates so they can kiss the ring of a guy by the last name of McCarthy. Those days are over. How many people just think that that's not working? It's not working, right? So who's going to be the one to change it? It's going to be everybody in this room leveling up and leaning in and saying, what can I put forth from a time, hands, and money standpoint? Because I don't want to see these perennial candidates that run, and then they run again, and then they run again, and then one moment it's like, okay, this doesn't politically benefit me, so I'm going to put in an election integrity lawsuit and say there was no in 2020, Moiser, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because that's what a rhino is. A rhino buckles and folds under pressure, and they're not consistent with the Constitution, but they are consistent with the Fox talking points, the Fox News talking points. And every day those are changing. So our company, our country's in peril. Our state's in peril. How many people believe that? Everybody saw what's going on with the WHO. We saw what's going on with the recent treaty, which, you know, we know that the cadaver in the White House, we know he's going to sign that treaty. Right? But it has to be ratified by who? The Senate. And who do you want in the Senate? Do you want a rhino that's already buckled and bent on election integrity? Or do you want a Marine that's going to kick in doors and flip over tables like Jesus did? Yeah. And so that's why, like, honest to God, there's a time and a place to bring people that are really nice to have at, you know, to have at the barbecue and drink a cold one with. I like those guys too. I also like to, you know, I like to play chess and hopscotch and hide and go seek with certain people, right? But that's not the guy that I want to watch my six when I'm trying to take a hill, when rounds are going down range. And this is such a time. We are at war to save our kids. This is about our kids. And our kids' kids. Right? Reagan said it best. He said, freedom, right, is only one generation away from extinction. It can't be passed through the bloodstream. It has to be fought for. Otherwise, our children and our children's children, they one day won't know what it looks like. And that's why it's so important, guys. You guys are doing it already. But the question is, on June 7th and November 3rd, and between now and then, how can we level up a little more? Maybe it's getting 5 to 10 more people to join the CRA. Maybe you were a member and you've been a monthly member. Maybe you were a yearly member. But now maybe God's tugging on your ear and saying, you know what? I'm just going to go $1,000 in. I'm going to go $1,000 in, and I'm going to become a lifetime member right now. That's really what it's about. Be the change you want to see. Because so many people, they sit in the stands and they complain about the way the game's being played, but they don't have the guts or the cojones or testicles or ovaries to get in there and throw the touchdowns. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to tell my kids that. You had an opportunity to leave a legacy, and it was uncomfortable, and you said, you know what, I'm going to bow out. I'm going to go for par. I'm going to shoot the birdie, baby. Let's shoot the birdie. And at the Rhino Convention, I told Fred Whitaker that. And then I told him he was a coward because he wanted to go for par, and I was saying, bro, I want to save the country. I'm going for the birdie. So let's all be somebody that wants to go for the birdie. Not for ourselves, but for our kids and their future. And so that's why we all need to be lifetime members. That's why we got to get 5 more people to be lifetime members. And that's why we got to make sure between now and June 7th that everybody that wasn't endorsed by the Rhino Convention, but was endorsed by this amazing organization, that they advance forward to November. Because if they don't, God help us. God help us as a country, and God help us as a state. Gavin Newsom this week, and I don't know how much time I have. I see you bearing down on me. 1 minute? Okay. I felt him in my periph. My periph's like, okay, the radar's on. You've gone way too long, dude. But no. But when we have Adolph Newsom, also known as Mussolini, also known as the guy that likes the booger sugar or cocaine, when we have him saying that Kathleen Kamala is the best choice for president, oh my gosh, man. I'm like, where's the nearest toilet? Because I need to throw up. Right? But like that's what we're dealing with. And our kids are inheriting that. And then they think CRT is normal. I mean, I'm talking to the choir here. But let's make a commitment tomorrow. You guys just being in here tonight and taking up a Monday night, right? And other plans you could have. You could be with your grandchildren, your kids, whatever, right? But let's make a commitment tonight. What's that little bit more gas in the tank that I can give to level up and lean in for freedom? Because if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? Okay, my name's Dr. Cordie Williams. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I will be your next U.S. Senator. With your help, I look forward to it. God bless you guys. Thank you so much, and Semper Fi.
Okay, our next candidate is a #1 best-selling author, speaker, and host of her own show. She and her husband of 25 years have raised 4 children, a feat in itself. Serving as children's ministry director at a large evangelical church, she oversaw the staff of over 100 people, coordinating weekly schedules, lesson plans, and activities. She went on to a position in operations with Live Nation and AEG, which is an entertainment group for those that don't know, where she worked directly with top artists and musicians, coordinating and facilitating production for live shows. As a result of the governor's COVID-19 mandate and lockdowns, shows and concerts were canceled. No fun allowed. And venues close across the state, leaving millions out of work. So she watched as her employees, staff, and friends lost their jobs, businesses, retirement savings, and livelihoods at the hands of an out-of-control government. So she couldn't stop. Please welcome Rachel Hamm for Secretary of State.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I believe that California is pregnant with promise, but for years now, liberal policies have been trying to abort that promise. But then something changed. They switched from just trying to abort the promise to actually waging war on it. And I believe that right now, the United States of America, and especially California, are at war. And I don't think that it's a war between Democrats and Republicans. I really think it's a war between good and evil, light and dark, right and wrong. And I want to encourage you with the fact that there are a lot of liberals right now that agree with that. At every campaign event I have right now, I have Democrats sitting in the audience. They look normal. And then they come up and they whisper in my ear, "I'm a Democrat." But my party has abandoned me. They've gone crazy. And I'm voting Republican for the first time in my life. And you guys, I'm telling you, it's happening every single time. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. I kind of feel like I'm watching the Great Awakening happening right in front of my eyes. In fact, the other night I mentioned how there's always Democrats. I said, in fact, there might even be one here now. And someone went, "It's me." And then the person next to him said, "Me too." And then another one came up after, and then another. Seriously, I'm very encouraged. I see how bad things are, and yet I truly can't shake an optimism that is beautiful. And it's not because I'm in denial. It's because I really believe that God is doing something amazing in our country right now. And I'm glad that Scott mentioned it, that we need a miracle, because we absolutely do. And I believe we're going to get it. I believe we all have a role to play, and we need to do every single thing we can do to get our country back. But I also believe that we're going to see some miracles. I'm expecting that. My faith is very high. And you know, Joe Biden told us, like they always tell us what they're doing, right? So he told us when he set out to campaign, he put on the side of his bus, "Battling for the soul of the nation." I mean, he just flat out told us. He was coming for the soul of the nation. And they are really waging war on the soul of the nation. But the thing is we are too. And light is stronger than darkness. That's right. So I do believe we are going to win this. I do believe also that it's my responsibility to do everything I can do to pass on a free republic to my children. And that's a lot of why I stepped up to run for Secretary of State. I saw what was happening in our country and I thought, what do I do? Like, I have 4 sons, and I just love them more than life itself, and I really want them to get to grow up in a free country. And I could see that we were headed quickly towards a place where that might not happen. So I evaluated, what can I do? I am very much a doer, always have been. I've never felt like it's someone else's responsibility. You know, it's like, what can I do? Okay, what can I do? So I really thought it through, prayed, talked to people, and I felt like the most effective thing I could do in this war was to step up and run for Secretary of State. Yes. Thank you. And the reason that I felt that way is because the Secretary of State is the chief elections officer for the state. And I believe that the 2020 election, the reason I believe that is because it's true. That's why. I I am part of a coalition of American First Secretary of State candidates across the country. We have 20 different states that we're working with, 20 different candidates. And we have a group of high-level, amazing counselors, you could say, people who advise us. And it's really wonderful. And together we've evaluated the elections. We've investigated the elections. And I can tell you it's death by 1,000 cuts. And I have the solutions. So I'm ready on day one to step in and be your chief elections officer, to give you your voice back, to give you an honest election again, so that you can actually elect people that will be good. Because can I just tell you that I think for about 20 years now, California has had, and I don't say that for no reason, and there's really kind of a lot of evidence pointing towards that. So we're going to change that. And it's really important. And I'm not saying this because it has anything to do with me, but the most important vote you're going to make this year is voting for Rachel Hamm for Secretary of State. If we don't have honest elections, it doesn't matter who's running for governor or senator or anything else. It doesn't. We've got to get an honest person in as Secretary of State, and I am that person. And I'm excited to do it. I really am. I think that California's best days are ahead of us. And there's just so much potential. As you look around at all the natural resources, and there's just so many amazing things about California. I don't want to have to move to Texas or Florida or Idaho. I want to stay here, and I want my state back. I want my state back. So with that coalition that I am part of, one of our advisors was undercover in prison for 2 years exposing what the cartels were doing with Obama when he was in Fast and Furious. So he was giving them weapons and were cooperating with them. And so one of our advisors for 2 years, federal prison, undercover, if you can imagine that. So we were having a meeting, we have weekly meetings every Friday, and he said, I got a really interesting call this week from the head of the largest Mexican drug cartel. And he told me, we're watching your little group. And we see that you're talking about election integrity. And we want you to stop talking about election integrity. Why on earth would the head of the largest Mexican cartel be watching a little ragtag group of Secretary of State candidates that are looking for free elections? I'll tell you why. And it's because the current election system in the United States of America, and again, especially California, is working than it is for you.
That's right.
That is the truth. So I have an idea for a billboard. Dear Shirley Weber, Secretary of State, thank you so much for fixing elections. Business has never been better. Love the Mexican drug cartel. I'm Rachel Hamm. Vote for me, Secretary of State candidate. Thank you so much.
November on this thing. Okay, our next candidate. He brings a unique combination of public and private sector experience with a quintessential American story. We'll have to hear what that is. Jack's experience as mayor, city councilman, CPA, Stanford economics graduate, Harvard MBA, bank vice president, treasury professional, it's a long list, auditor of municipalities and government agencies, investment banker, and M&A due diligence advisor for Fortune 500 companies. With stints in New York and San Francisco, Los Angeles, London, and Zurich, sorry you had to go to New York, establishes him as a candidate for both treasury experience and a public service record of fighting for taxpayers and working people. Please welcome our state treasurer candidate, Jack Guerrero.
Thank you, everybody. It's an absolute delight to be here with you this evening, and what a tough act to follow with Rachel and Cordie and Jenny Ray. I'm so thrilled to be endorsed by the California Republican Assembly and other conservative groups. I am the conservative candidate for California Treasurer, and I'd like to introduce my story to you and work my way chronologically to present day, why I'm running for California Treasurer, and why it's important today that we have an independent check and balance on a legislature run amok. My story begins in the late 70s when my parents, Mexican immigrants, came to California, first as farm workers in the Central Valley, and later as factory workers in Vernon, and then settled in the neighboring city of Cudahy, where I now serve on the city council and where I served as mayor after 2013, following a corruption scandal that plagued my city. The whole region is very, very troubled. For reference, my neighboring city is Bell. Everybody remembers the case of Bell. That's the town a few years back where the city manager was paying himself $1.5 million a year in a town where the average income is $30,000. An absolutely disgusting violation of the public trust. My own city had the same scandal. The dollar signs were a little bit smaller, but the conduct no less egregious. And it's against that backdrop that I decided to get involved in public service. But my story begins earlier than that. I was born and raised in the city of Cudahy. I went to all of the local schools. When I was 8 years old, I became a Republican. That's a true story. This was during the era of Ronald Reagan versus Walter Mondale, 1984. Many of you look very young in the audience. You probably don't remember 1984. But this was the campaign between Walter Mondale and Ronald Reagan. And my fourth grade teacher, Ms. Bolden, held a mock debate in the classroom and selected a student to represent Walter Mondale and a student to represent Ronald Reagan. The young lady representing Mondale stood up and said, "I support Mondale because my family is poor." And I was selected to represent Ronald Reagan very providentially. And I stood up and retorted, "I support Ronald Reagan because I don't want my family to be poor." And so I recall that very fondly. But that was my first orientation, my first experience with the Republican Party. And it was a fantastic time to be alive as a young person. It felt so great to be American. I was absolutely patriotic. Maybe the Cold War had something to do with that. But under the presidency of Ronald Reagan, it was a special time, at least as a young person. I was so proud to be American. I went to all of the local schools in my area, all decrepit, unfortunately. My high school was ranked in the bottom 10% of public schools. Absolutely decrepit public education. I'm sorry to say, I realized that after leaving school and going on to university. In fact, I think of myself as an intellectual refugee because I left the public education system to go on to university. I went to Stanford and then later to Harvard Business School, and I'm really proud of that experience. It's only through hard work, through the grace of God, I'm absolutely not ashamed to admit that, and certainly a raw ambition for self-improvement that I decided to go on to university and make a better life for myself. I had determined back then that I would move as far away from Cudahy as possible and never come back and secure a better life for my family. That was my idea, that was my vision. I went on to have a 20-plus year career in finance, economics, and treasury functions at the highest levels of corporate organizations. So I bring to the table both public sector experience as well as private sector experience. I was working in New York City at the time for a large investment bank. And in 2012, I relocated back to Cudahy. My father has the family home still, and I thought, well, I'll relocate back and spend a few months before I realize what cool hip part of the West Side I would move to, a place like Marina del Rey or Santa Monica, and I thought I'd lead a private life. But within 2 months of relocation, also providentially, there was a corruption scandal that plagued my city. And I determined at that time, I was very disappointed for my city, and I said, I'm going to find a good candidate to support before I move on. And I looked and looked, and I just couldn't find an agreeable candidate. And I had to look myself in the mirror and determine whether this was the moment for me to step forward. I'm a certified public accountant. I understand numbers better than the finance director, and I decided I was going to be helpful to my city. So I ran for city council. I was elected, immediately appointed mayor of my city, and let me tell you, it was like playing SimCity in real life. We fired everyone, the city manager, the finance director, the community services director, and we built a city from scratch. We built a city from scratch. One of the first things I did is I conducted my own forensic examination of the city's accounts, and I delivered a 10-page summary of findings to the California Controller, and I demanded a forensic examination of my city. When the Controller ignored me, I went to the Los Angeles Times, and I presented a 10-page summary of findings. The LA Times ran an article about my endeavor, a very favorable article, and shortly thereafter, John Chung, the Controller, who was running for governor, came knocking on the door and said, Jack, we will perform the forensic examination that you were requesting. And that was important to me because I was just about to unfold the greatest government reform measures in my city's history, and I needed independent validation to roll those out because they were not going to be pretty, and a lot of people were going to be disappointed. Business, as usual, came crashing down when I became mayor of my city. I also dabbled in a number of other areas outside the purview of a mayor. I'll give you one example, and this is important because when I get to the state treasurer's office and I observe unethical conduct or unconstitutional behavior or illegal transactions, I will put a stop to it immediately. And so in the same way, as mayor, I also dabbled in areas outside the purview of my responsibility. When I saw corruption or mismanagement taking place, there was one local school in my city that was failing the kids, and it was cheating the parents. Very troubled school. 80% of the kids were failing to meet state standards in reading or mathematics. To me, that is a civil rights injustice, and one of the reasons why I champion education reform. As a survivor of the public education system myself, it's one of the reasons why I take it very, very seriously. Well, in this one case, a failure factory public school in my city was misbehaving. I decided to get involved. It was not within my formal jurisdiction, but it was certainly within my moral obligation to get involved. And I held public hearings on the quality of education in my local schools in the city council chamber within the purview of a city council meeting. That was the unthinkable thing that I did, because everybody told me, Jack, you're absolutely nuts. You are not a school board member, hands off, they said. But I was going to put the schools on trial. And I did just that in my public city council chamber. And the next day, representative from Los Angeles Unified School District summoned me to downtown LA. They had a meeting with me at the table, and one of the principals at that troubled school was removed, and shortly thereafter, the rest of that administration followed course. I'm very proud of that. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm running now for California Treasurer. There are so many issues at stake. Just very quickly, I'll kind of take a few seconds. Pension reform is one of the areas that I'm really championing. People need to realize the true predicament about the pension liability. Most politicians ignore it. Even Republicans, dare I say. They ignore it because they're afraid of the public sector union bosses. Look, I am pro-government worker as well. Many of them do honorable work in my own city. But for me, the truth is absolutely important. And we have an unfunded pension liability today that stands at a staggering $1 trillion. This is the difference between the future commitments that we have, promises and obligations that we have made to retirees, and the present value of the pension fund assets. $1 trillion. For reference, the size of the general fund in the state of California hovers around $200 billion, which means that we could not shut down government today for 5 years and tax you several times over to recover from that gap. So for me, it's about telling the truth. Let's start with that, and then we can all come to the table and think about solutions to get us on the right course and not kick this proverbial can down the road. Enough of kicking the can down the road. We need to get our act together on this one. Credit rating, so many other issues. My time is up, but let me tell you this. There is a revolution coming in this country, and there is a revolution coming in this state. Don't get it started without me. My name is Jack Guerrero. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
One of the other offices that gets overlooked a lot is the Superintendent of Public Education, Public Instruction. That's considered a nonpartisan position. So you're not going to see an R or a D after those candidates' names. And so tonight we have with us a guy who's out there pushing and promoting school choice. He wants to start out with a beta program. He has it identified, and you can see some of his flyers in the back, that every child will get $300 a month to pick any program from, a locally focused program. And he's got ideas like a singing class, in a local church, engineering with maybe Lego class, a class operated by Lego, or a writing class, or gardening class, an Olympic math class. These are the kinds of things that he has the ability in that office today to nibble around on the edges, again, against the teachers' union and their wishes, of course. But we can't go out there and just say, okay, here's a voucher, you can start tomorrow. The legislature won't let us. But he does have power to do these kinds of things. And these kinds of creative ideas, I think, are going to be important. I want you to hear about them from George Yang himself. Welcome, George.
Thank you. So, yes, it is a nonpartisan race. So first of all, let me tell you how Republican I am. In 2016, I'm the Trump County Captain in San Mateo County. And by the way, I got hate mail for that. I am also the national delegate in 2012, but I want to go far back a little bit more. In 1949, my maternal grandfather is an educator in China. And he had a choice to make whether or not to stay in China or leave. But he was deceived by the communists. so that he decided to stay because the communists will tell you that they are only there for the poor people. They want to make the more fairer place, so he decided to stay. In 1976, he died in the labor camp during the Cultural Revolution. So that's why my mother really did not trust the communists. For the first chance that she got in 1992, she took me to the United States. At that time, she was 46 and I'm 15. This year, I'm 46 and my eldest daughter is 15. It is my turn to fight for this state and this country so that we'll be as good as she once believed it to be. Now, what I have discovered is that right now, in our education system, we are teaching the same thing that I was taught in China. And that's number one, America is bad. And that's why they have CRT, and that's why they have people like Jussie Smollett making up stories, and people believe him. And that's why in San Francisco, you will see mobs tearing down the statue of Ulysses Grant and Francis Scott Keys and not being prosecuted. By the way, we call Chesa Boudin. Second lie that they've been telling is that capitalism is broken. If you hire someone, you're exploiting them. If you own property, you're a greedy landlord. We need to attack you. See the slogan that says, eat the witch? They are very honest about what they want to do. And in China, when they use this kind of class warfare, use this kind of envy, you see people hacking their neighbor's kid to death because they are rich. They own some land. We are seeing this kind of rhetoric here in the United States. We need to change that. We need to teach kids about opportunity and not oppression. I want them to see and look around and see people who they can go into business with and not somebody who can take the property from. The last lie that they're saying is that all solutions come from government. Have you heard that? We need to demand action. I listen to NPR from time to time. So they tell us that 70% of high school kids in California are depressed because we're not doing enough about climate change, like Greta. How about planting a tree? How about doing something locally that you can achieve instead of demanding federal action, demanding state action? When they say that, what they're telling is that we want the government to take away more of our rights. And they're also saying that I am helpless unless the government do something. We need to change that narrative. We want to say, you want to do something, do that. Be the hero of your own story and not the victim of somebody else's narrative. Now, last year, I'm helping the school choice propositions. I'm on Chinese radio, TV, talking about why we need to have school choice. Unfortunately, we do not have enough votes to get there. But I have a better idea today. Now, I need to go back 1 year. Last year I was in Louisiana. I'm helping my friend who is running for the 2nd District of Louisiana. It's New Orleans all the way to Baton Rouge. And he said, George, I know you're very good at education policy. Come and help me craft those education policies for my district. So I go there and I look at the neighborhoods. You see a lot of churches that used to have hundreds of people and now only down to dozens of old ladies holding down the fort. You don't see young kids and you don't see young families. And we need to change that. We need to bring those young families back. So I'm working with him to create a program to give kids the after-school money, the credit, so that they can attend a church-run singing class, cooking class. Perhaps Hughesdale College can create a curriculum about history that can be taught in churches. I can bring the kids back to church. But the most important thing is that I want the kids and their parents to have the sense of being in charge of their own education dollars. I want them to not go to school district and being ignored, being like, oh, just go through. We don't need to. We want a situation where every parent, every kid will have someone comes to them and say, how can I help you? How can I serve you? How can I meet your needs? That's something that we don't have enough of in education. And that's what we need. Now to do this program, I'm going to take away the CRT funding. I'm going to take away all the money. By the way, I have this great interview with Steve Hilton. Go to YouTube, say Steve Hilton, George Yang, and see that video. That's a great video. All this money goes to all these vote consultants. They don't have a CRT line item somewhere. The way that they fund CRT is through all this vote consultants, vote organization. I'm going to take away all that money. By the way, when I go to Inglewood, I was working precincts in Inglewood and also in Windsor Hills. I'm talking to a lot of black families and say, do you not want a school choice program like this? Or do you want CRT? Most of them say, what's CRT? I want money. I want something in my hands that can take my kids to learn and be passionate about education. That's what we want. I go to Latino neighborhoods. Don't you want your kid to find something that is passionate about? Can be carpentry, can be cooking, can be pottery. But if he finds something he's passionate about, he will do better in school. And that's what we want our kids to be, passionate and grateful to be citizen of this great nation and grateful of the parents that have the things that their parents have done for them. Going back to this election, I am the only Republican on the statewide voter information guide. You can open it, there's 3 candidates in that voter information guide. The first person is the corrupt incumbent who pays buddy in Philadelphia $180,000 for not working. And yet, he get away with it. The other guy's name is Marco Amaral. He's a school board member somewhere in San Diego. And he wants to liberate California back to Mexico. And he's have a big bright red star on his t-shirt when he's talking. That's what we are against. I need to be top 2 so that those 2 persons cannot be top 2. And I want to be there so that in the general election you have somebody who fight against socialism, fight against communism in our schools, because I have been there and I really, really hate it. I'm the Yang on your ballot. I'm the only Yang on your ballot. Find the Yang, vote for the Yang. Don't miss the Yang. Thank you.
I'm Johnnie Morgan. I'm president of the California Republican Assembly, or CRA. The CRA was established in 1935. It is the oldest and largest independent Republican organization in California. Ronald Reagan called us the conscience of the Republican Party. We like to think of ourselves as the Republican wing of the Republican Party. I am so delighted that the Irvine Republican Assembly and the Newport Beach Republican Assembly and the Costa Mesa Republican Assembly, with their leaders, decided to put this on together, and this is a great event. Now, you heard from our statewide CRA endorsed candidates. Weren't they great? Yeah? Okay. We've got the best statewide CRA endorsed candidates for the offices that they are seeking that California has to offer. And I ask that you all support them, vote for them, work for them, send them a check, which would be very helpful, and become a member of the CRA. To do that, all you need to do is go to cra.org, I'll take it back, cragop.org, and click on the little join link, and you can become a member of this chapter, Irvine Republican Assembly, Costa Mesa, or Newport Beach, or whichever chapter you prefer, or at large. Just join us. You know, it was mentioned earlier by one of the candidates that we're in a war, and that's absolutely true. The way we win a war is with soldiers. So I need all of you to enlist in the CRA and help us win this war, because we are the only ones who can and will and are able to save this state. The CRA is the last line of defense for us here in California. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save us. Why do I say that? We just had evidence of it during the recall election. You guys remember that? Okay? They all said it couldn't be done. You know, folks were out there, oh, they won't get enough signatures. Oh, they won't get it on the ballot. You know, and what happened? We got more than enough signatures. We got it on the ballot, and Newsom was scared, okay? We had him on the ropes. You know, he was like, oh my God, they're actually going to do this. They're coming after me. What did he do? He called Washington, D.C., and he told them, hey, I need some help. They're coming for me. Send me some troops, send me some support. What did they do? Oh yeah, they sent out all the big guns, didn't they? Huh? They even put Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren on TV to tell us. She's from Massachusetts, but she's going to tell us, California, you need to keep Newsom. No, he's the best thing you guys got going. And it was on continuously, right? What else did they do? They sent out Kamala Harris. Oh yeah, Kamala. You know, she just came out and smiled. She didn't say nothing, all right? They felt like that's all she needed to do because she's from California. And then they sent out, let's go Biden, right? I mean, let's go Brandon. They sent him out, yeah? What did he do? Just walked around and looked like he was lost, but he had a presence. What did our team do? Okay, who came out for our support? You know, where was Kevin McCarthy? You know, our House Minority Republican leader. Where was McConnell? Where was Mitch McConnell? Senate Majority Leader. Yeah, right. Okay, where was the Republican National Committee chairperson, Ronna Romney McDaniel? We heard nothing from nobody. We didn't even hear anything from our chairperson. Jessica Patterson, CHOP, not a word. Nobody came to Larry Elder's support, okay? He raised more money in a short period of time than anybody in the history for this quick election. So that's why I say nobody's coming to save us. We have to do it ourselves. We got a fine list of CRA endorsed candidates. You didn't get to see and hear all of them. But if you go to our website, you can see and hear all of them. They all have their own videos there, the ones that were not in attendance, as well as the ones that were. You know, California is the 5th largest economy in the nation. Okay, and the time has passed for us to have politicians trying to run this state. We need a business person. We need a business person. We need Jenny Ray LaRue, a businesswoman, okay, to handle this economy and to get us back on the right track. So I ask you to support us, support our candidates, join us. We need your help. We can do this because we're winners.
Thank you, Johnny.
But I want to introduce you to Greg. Let me tell you a little bit about Greg.
It's all right.
He's a little guy, so it'll be easy to do.
He's a big guy.
It's all relative. Come on. So he also is a Marine. Come on, guys. He was a lieutenant colonel. Full bird. And he started out flying bricks. Those are commonly known as F4s, right?
F4 Phantoms, yes.
And then graduated eventually to F-18s. Flew out of El Toro, loved it so much, he stayed. And he's been here ever since. We tried to get rid of him, but they wouldn't take him back. Sorry.
I'm here.
I know, we've known each other for a long time, in case you can't tell. I'll let you talk. I'll let you hear from the horse's mouth.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am on before Todd Spitzer, so I've never happened before in my life. So, in 3 days is a very important day. Do you know what's going to happen on May 27th? Does anybody know? Top Gun Maverick is hitting the theaters around town, and I am your Top Gun, Greg Roux, running for Congress in the 40th Congressional District. I'll be very short because I was not going to ever run again until Irvine moved to the 47th District, and in 2020 when I ran against Katie Porter, I won every city but Irvine. So you guys are going to have a tough time beating Katie Porter, but she's very, very beatable this year. So I'm running in the 40th District. Mission Viejo is my city. I sit on the city council for the last 8 years. The largest city in the 40th District is Mission Viejo. We go all the way up to Chino Hills. I've been a public servant my whole life, starting at age 8 as a Cub Scout, 11 as a Boy Scout, 14 as an Eagle Scout, 30 years as a Marine Corps officer, 3 combat tours flying the F-4 Phantom and the F-18 Hornet, which Tom Cruise flies in the new movie Top Gun Maverick. So you got to all come and see. On May 31st, at the theaters in Mission Viejo, a Kaleidoscope 7 o'clock showing. I bought out the theater. I want everybody to join me and watch this great movie. So with that, I'm Greg Raths, running for the Congressional District number 40. I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. I got Scotty Boyks from Lake Forest, 4-time mayor, who's endorsed me. I got the CRA that has endorsed me. This is my seat. I've been attacked from the left. I've been attacked from the right. The left says I'm too much like Trump. The right says, the left says I'm too Trumpy. The right says I'm too much like Joe Biden. But I am Greg Raths, a Marine Colonel, to serve you in Congress, to get to Washington, to represent you all. Thank you all very much.
All right, our next speaker, running for the 5th District, Orange County Board of Supervisors. He's the current mayor of Newport Beach. I served with him for 4 years on the Newport Beach City Council. He's a leader. He was always there. He understands the constituents. He's an attorney. We won't hold that against him. But he used to work for President George Bush in the White House. George W., that is. He's not that old. He also helped move the president. We have, in Newport Beach, we have a statue of President Reagan. Who would know that that would be controversial? And they stuck it in a park very remotely. Kevin was the spearhead to get it moved to our Civic Center park, so it's front and center in our Civic Center park. In 2020, he sued Gavin Newsom in federal court and won, forcing him to reopen Orange County's beaches. Please welcome Mr. Kevin Muldoon.
Yeah, the Reagan statue was actually vandalized, and it was in this cul-de-sac that no one knew about. And I moved it to City Hall, and they didn't make a big issue about it because they were trying to recall my friend Scott, and they failed. So they didn't make a big ip, but trust me, it was a big issue to them because they didn't like the symbolism of Reagan sitting there and his hands outstretched to dry the liberal cries as they see him. Wipe those tears off. So yeah, I'm Kevin Muldoon. I'm the mayor of Newport Beach. It's great to see you all. As Scott said, I did sue the governor in federal court. I remember we closed our beaches, and it was a pretty kind of odd day. The night before, he let the chiefs know he's going to shut all the beaches up and down the state. So all the county, all the city heads of departments were expecting it. Well, that morning he decided he was just going to close Orange County's beaches. And in order to show how serious he was, he sent unmarked cars to make it so people couldn't even go down trails in San Clemente. And then he had the bigger cities' police departments, like our own, answering him directly, enforcing a closed beach. It was the first time in our 100-year history that our city staff did not answer to us, the city council. For the first time, they answered directly to the governor. The governor really didn't, it wasn't about shutting down the beaches. The Los Angeles sheriff wasn't enforcing, San Diego wasn't enforcing, no one was. It was about telling Orange County that he doesn't like the way that we view our freedoms. And we take our freedoms really seriously. We think that they come from God, and that they're inalienable, and that we fought for them in numerous wars, and that they're not something that we're just going to push away, especially consider the sort of unfairness that it touches, which really is probably what drove me the most angry. Obviously, I was angered by his abuse of power, but really, to circle out Orange County, I grew up here, and I saw the fear and distress in people's eyes. It was really odd. They went to protest on the sand. I was really upset by it, so I filed in federal court, and luckily I had a George W. Bush appointed judge, Judge Selna, and he denied my temporary restraining order, which is a technicality, but he ordered in the same order that the governor immediately reopened the beaches. So the governor had to submit a plan with the cities to reopen the beaches, and I think in a day and a half they were open, and he hasn't messed with Orange County since. So, I think that we have to pick strategic fights. I think we have to pick strategic fights like that to win, and it's not every fight. We're not selfish, but we have a line in the sand. We have to stand by that line. And I started running for supervisor. Supervisor is an interesting race. You wouldn't know how important it was for a lot of individuals until we face these shutdowns. You can decide to work with the people and focus on education and working together, or you can decide to have draconian measures and try to shut down businesses and put people in jail for really what the equivalent of a petty offense would be. So here in Orange County, we chose an educational approach, and that's what I would support. And not everyone feels that way. You'd be surprised. Some people, I think, really enjoyed exerting power or telling others how to live their lives. So for that reason, I'm running for Orange County Supervisor. It's a new district. It's been redrawn. It's Newport Beach and Costa Mesa. It's Irvine south of the 405, so great, this actually is in the district. And it goes all the way down to San Clemente and Dana Point. So I would appreciate your consideration. And we're almost all friends here, so it's kind of weird giving your friends a speech. But thanks for listening and have a great night. Thanks.
Our next speaker, you know, you've heard about the Dems and all these guys going around. I say all these guys. They're going around trying to steal and place their guys in district attorney's offices around the country, right? And
that sounds like you're talking about me. Okay?
how could I not? So, you know, as these guys go out there and try and replace people, here we have Todd, homegrown, former assemblyman, former board supervisor, and now one-term DA.
You got a long bio on me, bud.
I'm not going to read it.
Thank God, I wouldn't read this either.
So, as a result, he's targeted, and he's got a guy that's going to spend what, $5 million? Is that what the threat is?
We'll see. It's here. It's here now.
All right.
Yeah.
Please welcome. What's his name?
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for putting this on tonight. It's been a long day, and I woke up this morning with the fact that George Soros is here in our county now. He's paying for walk programs, he's paying for mail, and George Soros has taken over almost every major district attorney's office in the country. And people woke up, including Soros, and said, you know what, our district attorneys are some of the most powerful individuals in our society, and a lot of people don't even understand that or know that. You know, a week ago yesterday, I got a call about 2 o'clock because we had a mass shooting at the Geneva Church in Laguna Woods. We just had Buffalo. What's happening in our country with people shooting guns and killing people San Bernardino Friday night, I'm worn out. I mean, this is really, really wearing me out. We had a mass shooting in Orange, and I had to stand up and talk about, you know, that prosecution. We had a little boy, Aiden Leos, who was shot on the freeway on the 55 northbound, 6 years old. One shot from a gun from a moving car into another moving car, and it went right through his car seat, pierced his chest, and killed him on the side of the road. He succumbed to his injuries. You want from your district attorney somebody who can stand up and instill confidence in the people that our community is safe. And a lot of candidates will run, and what do they want to tell you? And you're hearing a lot of it tonight. It's good stuff for a lot of offices, which is we're going to change things, right? We're going to bring down the gas prices. We're going to suspend the gas tax. We're going to restore the economy. We're going to instill confidence in our ballot boxes. My job is the opposite here in Orange County. My job is to tell you I don't want anything to change in terms of the community safety that we've enjoyed here. If you drive from here to Los Angeles via the 5, or you go up the 405, and once you cross into LA, you know you're in a different place. Right? You'll see graffiti, you'll see dirty roadsides, you'll see trash and litter, and you will see utter disrespect for our community. And if you recall, there was a guy who was charged with murder who killed his dope dealer, his marijuana dealer, and he was a gang member. You probably saw this on Fox. And Tucker had revealed this, that this gang member was in custody. George Gascon had been elected the DA, and he was talking to one of his gang members on the phone or somebody from the neighborhood, and he said, hey, George Gascon's my hero. He's going to dismiss the gang enhancements. He's going to dismiss the gun enhancements. And I'm going to be getting out of prison. I thought I was going to go to prison for the rest of my life. I'm going to be coming home. And so I'm going to tattoo Gascon on my forehead. My job is to make sure that no one's going to get to tattoo Spitzer on their forehead, okay? Like, no, I don't want the criminals to like me. I want people, quite frankly, who are going to commit heinous crimes in our community, I want them to fear the heck out of me. I want them to say, we're not going to Orange County because Todd Spitzer is the district attorney. Or fill in the blank. We always need to have a district attorney who's going to protect our community. And yesterday in Huntington Beach, you saw it on the news, and I don't know why people in jewelry stores are not arming themselves in their stores with guns. I have no idea. Because I'm telling you, as your DA, if you have a jewelry store or a business, and somebody comes in and they have a hammer in their hand and they're going to start stealing from you, and they're going to hurt you, you can shoot them. You can defend yourself in this county. I mean, you can. I'm not saying, hey, go out and like hurt people intentionally. What I'm telling you is, you have a right to stand your ground. You have a right to protect yourself, your home, your business, your livelihood. And we shouldn't apologize or be sympathetic to people who want to take things from us because they don't have it, and that we've worked hard and we got our education, we're entrepreneurial, right? And we care about our community. We should never apologize for that. In the world, whether it was Scott or somebody was talking about how the world is upside down, and it is upside down. But I will tell you, in this place we call Orange County, it is worth protecting. It's worth electing people who care deeply about our county and our country and our values. And that's what you want from your DA. So really, you know, this morning I woke up and I'm confronted now with an unlimited checkbook from George Soros. And that's what I'm facing. And it's very overwhelming, right? Because I have to raise money, $2,200 at a time. And George Soros can write a check. He wrote Nancy Pelosi $180 million check. He'll write whatever it takes to take over these district attorneys' offices around our country. And you know what? There's honestly, I just want to tell you all as your friend, I can't stop that as one person. One person cannot stop that. It takes a person. I've been in office for 30 years, in and out. Like for 30 years I've been in this. I have 80% name ID in this county, okay? So thank goodness I'm the guy that they're running against, because I have a very strong probability of winning this re-election. I think I can take care of this in June. And I need to take care of it in June, because if we go to November, I don't know what could come our way with the amount of money that George Soros and others can bring. But let me just tell you this and close with this. Chester Bowden's the DA of San Francisco. He's going to be recalled on June 7th. Even the most liberal people in our state don't want their DAs to be that reckless. George Gascon, I don't know. LA County is the biggest county in the country, and to try to recall your elected official on a countywide basis is a huge feat, and people are highly motivated, and they're doing the best they can, and they're on round 2, and we'll see by July. But I'm telling you, what's happening with George Gascon in LA is ruining that community, and it's not fair to the people that live in Los Angeles. It's not fair. No one should have to live like that. People in San Francisco, even though they're not my brethren in terms of political ideology, they should not have to live like that. And so I care deeply not only about our county, but I'm not parochial about it. The things I'm standing for here, if they break and knock us down here in Orange County, and they've taken over Chicago and Philadelphia and New Orleans and San Francisco and Los Angeles, if they can do it here, they can do it anywhere. I run the 3rd biggest district attorney's office in California and the 6th biggest DA's office in the country. I am the last Republican-led large DA's office in the country. I run the largest Republican-led DA's office in the country, which is why they're targeting me, because of what it would mean. It's a huge coup for them. I'm not going to let it happen. So this morning I woke up and I said I'm going to raise another $100,000 in 2 days. You know, because I've got to stay on television. We're going to be on network TV, we're on radio, we're on cable. The amount of, I've already spent $2 million. $2 million. And those of you who know me, you know I'm a vigorous fundraiser. But man, what's posing again, I raised $40,000 today. And I've got to do that again tomorrow. So that's why it's exhausting. It's exhausting dealing with this violence and standing up for people who are victims. And my job is to protect the community. And at the same time, be distracted by this thing we call a campaign on an unfair playing field. But we're going to do it. And I'm very confident that based on our polling and based upon where we are on radio and TV and everything else, we can do it. But I am imploring upon you. I know you're all going to vote. But you really do need to pick up the phone and tell all your associates and everybody in your communication chain, they've got to return their ballots. Because if you look at the ballots that are being returned right now at the registrar, Democrats are ahead of us in terms of mail ballots returned. They're ahead of us. So there's more Democrats voting right now than Republicans. And so she knows I'm literally, she knows I have this big van, it's wrapped with my name on it, it's out in the parking lot right now. I am going and standing, she's out there working on initiatives. I'm literally out there saying hi at Targets. My name's Todd Spitzer, I'm your district attorney. Would you please vote for me? And people look at me like, really? Like people are, right? They're like, wait, you are Todd Spitzer, I've seen you on TV. But why are you here? Well, don't you have people that will do this for you? And the answer is very simple. The answer is no, I don't. I do, but I don't. The day when you're an elected official and you feel that it's beneath you or somebody else can do it for you to be out meeting the public and shaking hands and asking for people's votes is the day you no longer deserve to be in office. Right? I mean, it's always got to be willing to make that connection. So I'm driving this van around. I'm going to, for the electeds in the room or people running, don't go to Costco, okay? They'll kick you out. Costco has a very, very big enforcement policy. But Target is really pretty lenient. I had security come up at Target, and they came out, and I said, oh, I know, you got to take my picture because you got to document it for your file that I'm probably in violation of some rule of Target. They're like, oh, no, we just want to take our picture with you. You're telling Spitzer, right? I'm like, yeah, just come on. So it's been a real blessing, but I'll just tell you, going back to 1992 when I ran for school board in Brea, 30 plus years ago. It never gets easier. It's always hard. It's hard to raise money. It's hard to put your name out there. But it's never been worse now than in the last 30 years I've been doing this, because the world is brutal. Social media is unrelenting. People are irresponsible. People who don't get dressed in the morning and stay in their underwear all day are now journalists in our society. And things are crazy. So, when you stop and think a police officer or somebody who's served in the military, think the people that run for office, because not only are you the grassroots activists, but they're the ones that have to read about just the horrific things that people want to say about us. And it is what it is. It kind of just goes with the territory. We're public figures. But believe me, I've been doing this a long time. Christina did it a long time. A lot of people, Kevin and Piotr. I don't care what they say. When people talk mean about you, it hurts. It hurts. And it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't just roll off your back. And we don't all have thick skin, all right? You can never, ever lose the fact that these things bother you, because the day you lose that emotion is the day you're not a human being. And once you're not a human being, the voters can sense that in 2 seconds, that you're no longer connecting. And I never want to give up that emotion or that vulnerability, because that's what makes me human, and that's why I've been, knock on wood, never lost an election in this county and continue to have been elected for 30 years. We're going to do this, okay? I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull this off, okay? But you got to turn out the vote. Or otherwise, we're going to turn Orange County upside down. We cannot let that happen, okay? So God bless you. Thank you so much.
And our last but not least speaker, again, Congress. This one is, we used to call it Orange County the donut hole. You had a Democrat in the middle, Santa Ana, and then you had Republican districts all the way around it. Now it got to the point where it was all Democrat. But we still have the donut hole in the middle, and that's where this candidate's running. He's running in the heart of Democrat Orange County, and he's taking it to them there. And he's a perfect candidate for the district. He's lived in Orange County for over 40 years. He's a UCI grad, UCLA law grad, U.S. Army First Lieutenant Military Police, law. He's got a law practice here, Knights of Columbus, been involved with Mary's Shelter, and is a very strong pro-life advocate involved in multiple pro-life organizations. Please welcome our next congressman from the 46th District, Christopher Gonzales.
Thank you, good evening. I'm so fired up to talk. I keep, was pacing over there because I want to share, So, thank you everybody for being here today. I am running for the 46th Congressional District. They tell me I can't win this. They're going, there is no way. They said the current incumbent, Lou Correa, has got a 26-point voter registration advantage on us. And they're saying, Chris, why would you want to run, right? What are you thinking? They're going to attack you. They're going to attack your family. It's going to be expensive. And I said, because I don't run from a fight, I run to a fight. Yeah, that's right. And we got a cultural war going on here, right? We gotta make some changes. So I am so proud to be a CRA endorsed candidate. They vetted me well. I could not believe all the questions. They weren't gonna give me that endorsement without checking me out. And apparently I passed. Thank you so much. And then I got Christina Shea's endorsement. Yeah, there. Well, thank you, Christina. And Greg Raths, a bunch of superstars, right? Kevin, can I get your endorsement? Yes. Yeah, there you go. Keep adding them up. So and where's Todd Spitzer? I'm still, I could use his too. So, anyways, so I'm running. All right. So I'm running against Lou, right? Lou Correa. So join me. This is one of my favorite parts of my presentation. When I say Lou, you say boo, okay? So let's get together on this, a little practice run. Lou! Lou, let me tell you why we're not voting for Lou, okay? Yeah, that's right. Lou is horrible. Everybody says, oh man, Lou's great. I went to high school, yeah. And, he's super nice. He's a blue dog. Everybody know what a blue dog is? Someone who's a moderate Democrat. This guy's no moderate Democrat. He votes with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. Can I get a double boo for Nancy Pelosi? Yeah, boo boo, right? Triple over there. Do I hear 4? Right? Yeah, I see a 4. All right. And then he votes with AOC. Yeah. That's a 10 boo, right? She's the worst. He votes with her 94% of the time, right? Anybody here like law enforcement? Yeah, I do. I'm a former MP, United States Army. Hurrah! Right? Yeah, so I know there was some great Marines in here. I thank them for this service, and it was a pleasure. Best thing I ever did was join the United States Army, because that shapes me in everything I do. Every decision, everything I plan, everything. I'm an Army officer, and I'm still proud, and if they'd let me, I'd be in uniform right now carrying an M16, because I love that thing, right? That was my baby, right? So, and the thing that they taught us most important thing in the United States Army, even though we had $1 equipment, right? I drove a tank, I flew in helicopters, right? I did all this great stuff, fired expensive howitzers. But what was the most important thing was the soldiers, right? Our troops. They said the human resource is the most important. And they go, Lieutenant Gonzales, are you going to take care of your people? Yes, sir. And I did. And that's what I want to do in Congress. I want to take people. And that's what I do now. I'm a lawyer. I like to think one of the best, in Orange County. Just trying to be, humble here. And and people come into my office all the time. They got all kinds of problems, big problems, little problems. And they come to Gonzales and say, hey, can you help me? And I go, I'd be glad to. So we sit down and figure it out and work it out. So I have a general practice doing that. I help people with their problems. So I want to go to Congress and fix the problems out of my district, which is Santa Ana, Anaheim, Stanton, a little bit of Orange, a little bit of Fullerton. There's some big problems in there, right? Major problems. I know. I got robbed at gunpoint in Santa Ana when I first opened my office. And crime has gone up 57% in the last year. So where's Lou, right? Yeah, boo, Lou, what have you done? He's been in there forever, right? I mean, he's a, 20-year politician, right? So I don't see him helping the people, and the crime's just getting worse. The streets are getting worse, right? The schools are getting worse. Why isn't he doing something, right? Because Lou, Boo. He's messing up. He's not going to do anything because he's hostage to Joe Biden, who's what? The worst president ever. Yeah, he's not a president. He's not our president. He's terrible, right? I have yet to find a good decision from Joe Biden, right? Maybe when he says he retires, that is, there we go. Yeah, bravo. So that's what we're hoping for. But Lou votes with him, he supports him, and is really messing up our district, right? And we can't lose this district. It's the heart of Orange County, the center of Orange County, right? Remember in the good old days when Reagan was the president? All 5 districts were Republican. Yep. This was Reagan country. Why isn't it Reagan country now, right? So we got to do something. So when I was told, Chris, don't run in this district, I said, no, I want this district. I prayed about it, and I go, this is a great district, and the more I run, the more eager I am, because I go and talk to people, and everybody's like, yeah, I've had enough, right? This is really sad. So even the Democrats are going, I'll think about it. I'll share a story. I wanted to talk to some guy at his house, and he had a picture of Obama. He goes, this is my man. And I said, we chatted, and I go, why is this your man, right? And we went back and forth, and at the end, he says, you know what, Chris, I'm going to really consider voting for you. And that's what we can do. We can touch everybody in that district and make them change. It's great right now. I've got all these little church ladies, right? They all go to Christ Cathedral, and they're all wearing the button. They're all going around. And Luke Carew goes to the same church, right? So they go, we are going to make sure Lou sees my button. Yeah, I'm going, you are the best. And they're going into all these retirement homes. I can't keep enough literature in my office to feed them because they're so excited. Because 1, I am pro-life. 2, I'm Christian. 3, people are what matter. I want to protect our children. That's what I'm fighting for. And we got these great little church ladies. And with all that prayer, I can't lose, right? So please vote for Gonzales. Gonzales for Congress. Love you. You're the best. And thank you for this time.